transistor sizing. So first we will look at for inverter. So inverter, we know there is a PMOS and NMOS. By sizing, what I mean is the design parameter. Okay. So we have a VDD and a ground, and what is the W by L ratio? Okay. L is usually kept. The value of L is basically the length of the transistor. So when you look at the transistor from the top, they are made on the surface, on the top surface of the wafer. So when you look from above, the length of the channel that is made, that is what we refer to as L. And the other design parameter is W. That is the width. So for PMOS, we have LN, WN. Sorry, so this is PMOS, so we will call it LP, WP. Similarly, there is LN, WN. Okay, for NMOS. Now, if we once again look at the RC model, the resistance of the PMOS we have derived, I think we derived for NMOS. So NMOS we got it as assuming a short channel device, we derived the average resistance during discharging from VDD to VDD by 2. The output capacitor was getting discharged from VDD to VDD by 2. So there is an output capacitor which was getting C out, that was getting discharged through the NMOS, and the expression that we derived was 3 by 4 VDD by ID SAT. Okay, so this is the ID SAT for NMOS transistor. So similarly, you can derive an expression for PMOS, where you consider charging from 0 to VDD by 2, and you will get similar expression. Only difference is that here it will be ID SAT P instead of ID SAT N. So where ID SAT P is the saturation current. Okay, so here saturation, to be more particular, we have to say velocity saturation. So due to velocity saturation, there is a voltage beyond which it will get velocity saturated. So the current corresponding to that saturation is what we refer to as ID SAT P. So this is for PMOS. Similarly, ID SAT N is the saturation current for NMOS. Okay, so this is one way we can derive the expression for short channel device. And for long channel, we had a other expression for linear region of, if you consider linear region of operation, we said so this is for short channel device. Now for long channel, velocity saturation is usually not there. So what we do is basically VDS by IDS when you take, so VDS will get cancelled, and then we will have UN Cox W by L, then VGS minus VTN. So this was our Rn. And Rp similarly we will get 1 by mu p Cox. It's a mobility of holes, mu p, Wp by Lp into VGS minus VTP. Okay, so this is what we got. Okay, so if you are using long channel device, we can use this expression for Rn and Rp, and for short channel device we will use the top expression, where IDSAT N and IDSAT P are the saturation current, and the expression for that saturation current, if you remember, it is mu n Cox Wn by Ln into VGS minus VTN into VD. Okay, so let me do it the other way. So saturation current in velocity saturation is VD sat into VGS minus VTN minus VD sat N by 2. So this was the short channel ID sat. But the point to be noted here is that if you take any of this expression, one thing is common, that is Rn, for example, is inversely proportional to Wn. Rp is inversely proportional to Wp. So this is the most important takeaway point. Okay, so if you take the short channel device expression, you can see that IDSAT P is in the denominator and IDSAT is given by this kind of expression, where you have IDSAT proportional to Wn. Okay, if you take Rn, IDSAT N, substitute, it is proportional to Wn, but it is in the denominator, therefore you can say Rn is proportional to 1 by Wn. Even if you take long channel device, same thing applies there also. Wn is coming at the denominator, so Rn is proportional to Wn. So when you design NMOS and PMOS transistors, we keep the value of L and LP at the minimum value. Okay, so Ln and LP are usually kept at the minimum value. We usually vary only the Wn and Wp. So the usual design approach is to keep Ln and LP at the minimum possible value, and this minimum possible value approach is to keep Ln and LP at the minimum possible value and design Wn and Wp according to the requirement, according to the requirement of propagation delays, minimum propagation delay, minimum propagation delays. So we vary the delay by varying Wn and Wp. We don't vary Ln. Okay, Ln is kept at the minimum value. For example, if you are working with a 180 nanometer technology, example for 180 nanometer technology, that means in the foundry where you make these devices in the chip, for 180 nanometer technology, Ln equal to Lp is taken as 180 nanometer, and this is usually expressed in terms of lambda. What is lambda? The minimum feature size. Okay, for 180 nanometer or any technology node, so lambda is basically half of the minimum channel length. Okay, so lambda is equal to here for 180 nanometer, for 180 nanometer technology, lambda is equal to 90 nanometer. So we say, therefore we say Ln equal to Lp equal to 2 lambda. So that is the normal way of specification. When you draw the layout, you will see that the minimum variation that you can make in any dimension, length or width or whatever, is lambda. Okay, so for 180 nanometer you can vary things till a minimum possible variation that is allowed is 90 nanometer. Okay, if you go to 90 nanometer technology, the variation that you can make there is 45 nanometer. It is just the half of the minimum channel length, but channel length you cannot make it 90 nanometer. For 180 nanometer technology, you have to keep it 2 lambda always, and W will be usually greater than this. Okay, WL and WP will be greater than Ln equal to Lp. Okay, so how to decide about Wn and Wp? So one thing that we have noticed from the above resistance expression is that resistance is inversely proportional to Wn and Wp. So when we talk about transistor sizing, we are actually talking about only the W, because Ln is fixed at the minimum value. Why do we fix it at the minimum value? It is possible to design with the higher value, but we usually fix it at the minimum value so that the area will be area for making the transistor will be the minimum, because the cost of the chip is directly proportional to the area it takes in the chip. How much area is needed to make the circuit, that will decide the cost of the chip. Otherwise, if the area is small, then you can make several such chips in a given area. Okay, so that will bring down the cost per circuit. So that need to be conserved. So that is why we always keep the channel length at the minimum, and then depending upon the delay requirement, we vary the Wn. Okay, so let us go to a simulation which we have already seen. This is basically the dynamic characteristics which you have seen. I think you have already finished this experiment. All of you wrote about it also. But let me just vary some of this. So I kept for PMOS the length as 1 micrometer. Okay, so this is like an earlier node, technology node. These days we may not be using this node also, but for instructive purposes we will just look at. So 1 micro this is the length, so that is like 1 micrometer technology. Okay, so we are saying 1 micrometer technology, and width usually greater than that, and we are keeping 2 micro. Okay, width is 2 micro. You can make it 10 micro also, 5 micro also, but we are taking 2 micro. Okay, so this is the PMOS. I am not giving all the areas on, so it will take whatever is the default value, but length and width only I am specifying. Okay, and for NMOS also I am giving the same. Okay, 1 micro, 2 micro. Okay, now I am giving a pulse waveform, 0 to 5 volt. It transition will happen with 0 delay, and rise time and fall time I keep it at very small, 1 picoseconds, and then the on time is 0.2 nanosecond, and total period is 4 nanosecond, and then 4 cycles. Then transient analysis I am going to look at from 0 to 1 nanosecond. Okay, so let us see. This is something similar we have already seen. So if you look at the input, okay, it's just a square wave. It is plotting from 0 to 1 nanosecond, and roughly you can see there are 2.5 cycles. Now let's look at the output. So if you look at the output, so remember we kept the WL is same for both the transistor NMOS and PMOS, but only design that we will vary is WN and WP, but I have taken both to be 2 micrometer, and with the 2 micrometer size for WN and WP, this is the delay I am getting. So the rise time and fall time, if I look at for this case, so to find the fall time I just bring it into the 50% point, which is 2.5. Okay, so you can see that it is 2.5 here, and the time taken for reaching the 50% point is 11 picosecond. So this is our, so 0, there is no delay involved, so from 0 to 11 picosecond, that is the 50% point is reached in that time. So therefore we can say that our so from 50% of the input to 50% of the output, the time taken, that is what is called the fall time. Now same thing if I do, so this is, you note that it is this is coming as 11.6 picosecond. Now let me look at the rise time. So what I do, I keep it at the instant at which it is rising, and we will look at till 50% point. Okay, so now from 0.2 to some higher value, that is the cursor 2, if you look at it is 223. So 200 picosecond to 223, and the difference, if you look at, you will get basically the rise time. So it is 22 point something. Okay, earlier fall time was 11, but rise time is 22. So you can clearly see that the rise time is twice the fall time. There is an asymmetry. Okay, so that is very clearly seen, right? Discharging is happening very quickly, but charging is happening more slowly. Okay, discharging quickly, and it takes double the time for charging compared to discharging. So there is an asymmetry. So now what can be the reason for this? The reason for this is because in the process parameter Kp is given as 25 mu for PMOS, and Kp is given as 50 mu for the NMOS, and that is a very practical value. That is 1 will be the double of that. That means NMOS will have higher mobility. So if you look at the expression for current that I wrote earlier, okay, so this current, if you look at here, mu n into Cox is what we call as Kp, or we can call this as Kn. Okay, Kn is basically the process transconductance, so we took it as I think 50. Yeah, for NMOS we took it as 50 mu. So this was taken as 50 micro. That is a process, and the unit I am not specifying, only the value I am specifying. So and the unit will be something like conductance per volt square or something like that, because here it is volt square, left side it is current, so the unit is going to be ampere per volt square. Okay, so that will be the unit. Okay, 50 micro. And similarly for PMOS we are taking Kn to be 25 micro, and the reason is that Cox will be same for both, but mu n will be, so mu n is roughly 2 times mu p, the mobility of electron. So that is something that you cannot change, that the electron will respond to electric field in a very quick manner. It will move in response to it, but whereas holes, they move slowly. Okay, that is something fundamental and you cannot change. So therefore the process parameter is bound by that. Okay, Kn and Kp, they will have a double value, but that is basically giving rise to the asymmetry in the charging and discharging. So what we can do is, in order to overcome it, we can design or size the transistor such a way that we will double the PMOS width. So WP, I am making it 4. Okay, and I don't change WN. WN is still kept as 2 micro. Okay, that is still kept as 2 micro. I am not changing it, but WP I am making it as 2 times WN. Okay, so I kept it as 4 micro, so that when you multiply the Kn with the Wn by Ln for both transistor, it will now be same. So that is beta n. So beta n and beta p I am making it as same. Okay, I hope it is clear. Okay, Kn and Kp, they will have a difference by a factor of 2. Kn will be 2 times that of Kp, that we cannot change. So in order to compensate for that, what we do is that Wn and Wp will be adjusted in such a way that the product of Kn and W by L will be same for both transistors. So that is the approach that we are doing. So if I do that, then I am expecting same 11 point something charging and discharging time. So let us see that. So this is our input, we have the output. Now if you find out okay, so let us take the cursor. So now 50 percentage point, if I take as before, I think it is, yeah, there will be some parasitic capacitance also which will come, which will increase with the increase of W. Okay, that will also be there. Load capacitance, I put it as 0, but the parasitic capacitance depends on W. So there will be a slight increase from 11, it has now increased to 16 picosecond. Okay, but what is more important is whether they are equal for rise time and fall time. That is what we aimed. Okay, so let's see this. So for rise time we bring again to 50% point. Okay, roughly. Yeah, so you can see that it is 17. Okay, the earlier was 16, now it is 17. It could be because of some error in the way I put the cursor also. Okay, this is 2.51, so it has to be slightly more lesser. Okay, earlier I think I got 2.50 the height. Okay, 2.5 is the nearest I can go. Okay, let us take so this is basically 17. The difference between two cursor in the x-axis is giving 17. So you can see one is 16 point something and this is 17.1. So they are quite close. They are not double. They are almost same. So this is achieved by modifying your WN and WP. So if this is okay for us, then 16 picosecond if it is okay. So we want basically the same charging and discharging time for the inverter. Okay, for rise time and fall time we want to make it symmetric, so we can size the transistor accordingly. Now if you think that that's true, but I want it to be say less than 10, so can we do something or design in such a way that both will be same as well as they will be less than 10? So then we can try making this as 8 for PMOS, and then this one will be 4. Again it will be double. Okay, 4 and 8, that is also for keeping the condition for symmetry for charging and discharging. But now I have double the size of both, so which means that compared to the earlier value I have now only half the resistance, but of course it will increase some capacitance. So let's see what is the result. Okay, so let's measure. Okay, so there is no much change. It is again 16. That's because the capacitance is increasing. Let's see with the rise time. .56. Okay, no much improvement. Okay, so although the resistance is increasing, but the capacitance is decreasing. Okay, so we are not able to make it faster. Now if you look at this in the presence of load, so let me add say 30 femto as the load. Okay, so that definitely the load will increase the capacitance at the output further, so the delays are further increased. So now if you look at we can see that it is 58 picosecond. 58 picosecond, and for rise time roughly this, so that is 59 picosecond, the difference between these two times. For cursor 1 and cursor 2 it is 59. So 58 and 59, they are quite close. So they are all, so in the presence of load as well as in the absence of load, the delays are changing but they are symmetric. So that is what we have achieved. Now so 58 and 59, keep that in mind. So let me again make this 60 now, and this one I will keep it 8. 58 and 59 is what we had. Let's see what happens now. You see it is improved. So in the presence of load there is improvement. From 58 I think it is now decreased. As because of the load capacitor, the effect of parasitic capacitance is suppressed. So again 2.5, okay. So this is 38. So it's a significant improvement. From 58 we have come down to 38 by size, doubling the size, that is reducing the resistance, charging resistance by half. We did not get exactly half, but we got improvement from 58 to 38, okay. And we did not get half because the parasitic capacitance increases. That's why we are not getting proportional. It also depends. It is RC time that determines the charging and discharging time constant. So to make RC to become half, you have to not only make R half, but C should also become half. But that both we cannot do. So there are some limitations. Yeah. So you see this is also 38. So both are 38. Okay, that's a significant improvement. So from 58 and 59 we got 38 and 38 by doubling just the WN and WP. So sizing of a transistor is a very important thing in design. Okay, so that will decide how your charging and discharging waveform will look like. The output is going to depend upon that. So the convention for deciding the sizing is so usually we keep Ln and Lp, as I said, at the minimum length possible, that is 2 lambda, and then Wn you have to fix. Usually it is higher than the Ln. So if it is 2 lambda, Wn could be 4 lambda by 2 lambda. Okay, and if that is the case for PMOS, then it will be 8 lambda by 2 lambda. Okay, W by L will be 8 lambda by 2 lambda. So in that way we have to decide the size, and for this we have what is called as a reference inverter. So reference inverter is an inverter in which we define the W by L of NMOS. We will say this is basically say 4 lambda by 2 lambda. You cannot reduce L lesser than 2 lambda, that is a minimum possible, and W will be more than L usually. So this is basically for the NMOS, and similarly for PMOS, W by L for PMOS will be taken as 8 lambda. It should be 2 times. WP should be 2 times that of WN, and this will be Ln should be same. Ln and LP are same, but Wn and Wp, they should be so here what we have taken is that Wp is equal to 2 times Wn. Okay, so Wn I took it as 4 lambda, and Wp I am taking it as 8 lambda, so that it will cancel the difference in mobility. So this is a standard inverter, and now we will denote this reference inverter in the following manner. The size of the reference inverter, now we will denote like this. So we will say this we will call it as 1. Okay, the NMOS we will call it as 1, so that is this one. This is the NMOS, I am calling it as 1. So this is basically 1, and this is 1 means this is going to be, for PMOS it is going to be written as 2. So that is the minimum size that we have, and every other circuit will be compared with this reference inverter. So when I say 1, we are at, what actually I am talking about is basically 4 lambda by 2 lambda. That's what I mean. So okay, maybe I should put this below. This I will keep it at the top. Okay, because PMOS is at the top. Okay, so NMOS I am saying it is 1, size is 1 means this is what I mean. So we have to fix it. So you can you have to take Ln and LP as 2 lambda, but Wn and Wp you can decide what should it be for your reference transistor. I am taking 4 lambda, and so that will be then called as 1, size 1. Okay, that is a reference size. I could keep it as 8 lambda also, then everything will be compared with a reference of 8 lambda by 2 lambda, and accordingly PMOS will again be 2, but it has value 16 lambda by 2 lambda in that case. Okay, so this is one case. Instead of that, I can have I can also have something like W by L P to be 16 lambda by 2 lambda, and W by L for P to be then 8 lambda by 2 lambda. So I can call this also as 1. Okay, this is a notation, and then if this is 1, this will be 2. So size, we are actually talking about size. So this is the unit transistor where the minimum size, and every other transistor that is going to be in the circuit inside the chip will be having 1 or more. The size will be either 1 or more. The minimum is 1, and it could be more also. There is no issue. Okay. So this is the way in which we refer things when we talk about the sizing of transistors in the circuit. Now let's go to other circuits. Okay. So let's talk about NAND 2 CMOS circuit. So again, we are using the switching properties of PMOS and NMOS transistor to design it. So NAND 2 is given by Y is equal to say AB bar. it's a universal gate, 2 input NAND gate. Okay, so now if you take this expression and take its y bar, then it is basically AB. So that means we are looking at what are the times at which we want the output to be 0. Okay, so y bar, so y means these are the times at which output should become 1. Y bar means if we are talking about y bar, complement of a function, we are saying basically at what combination of a and b we want the output to be. So which means that the output y should be equal to 0 when a equal to b and b equal to, sorry, a equal to 1 and b equal to 1. This is what we are saying. So output y should be equal to 0 when a equal to 1 and b equal to 1. So in both cases I should have, so that's what y bar means, y becomes 0. Okay, so here we are saying, so if I apply, I want to write it as like in SOP form. So if I write it in SOP form, I apply De Morgan's theorem, and this is basically equal to a bar plus b bar. Okay, so then I can now interpret it as, that means y is equal to 1, because I am taking y, not y bar. So y is equal to 1 when either, so there is an either condition, either when a is equal to 0 or when b equal to 0. So there are basically 3 conditions here: 0 1, 1 0 and 0 0. Okay, so these are the cases where my y becomes 1. Now how do we make y 1 in a CMOS circuit? We use PMOS transistors. How do we make output 0? We use NMOS transistor. So the PMOS transistors should be connected in such a way that when either a is 0 or b is 0, we should get a 1 at the output. Okay, either when a is 0 or b is 0, we should get 1 at the output. So let us now connect the PMOS transistor in such a way that y will become 1 when either of them is 0 or both of them are 0. Okay, so that is very easy to do. You connect 2 PMOS transistor in parallel. So this is A and this is B. So when A is 0, it will be on. B is 0, this will be on. If A and B both are 0, both will be on. So this is my VDD. So this is the place where I take the output. Okay, so they are good. PMOS transistors are good switches for passing VDD. That's what we have seen earlier. So therefore we use them always at the top of the CMOS circuit in order to use them to pass VDD to the output. Okay, now whenever we want 0 to come at the output, PMOS transistors are not a good continuous, so we use NMOS transistor, and the condition where it has to pass 0 to the output is when A equal to 1 and B equal to 1. So what we need to do, we need to connect the NMOS transistors in series so that the AND condition. Okay, so this is A and this is B. Okay, so it's now very clear. So when A equal to 1, B equal to 1, what happens to the PMOS? PMOS, both of them are off. They don't do any passing of high voltage. They will be at off condition. But at the same time, when A equal to 1, B equal to 1, both NMOS transistors will be turned on. Okay, and Y will become equal to 0. So that's what we want. So y bar is equal to AB. That means we want output to be 0 when A equal to 1 and B equal to 1. Okay, and then y equal to A bar plus B bar means that when either A equal to 0 or B equal to 0, we should get an output equal to high state. So this is basically NAND 2 circuit. Now the next thing is that how do we size the transistors here? We know how to size inverter, and we have a reference inverter, and in terms of that we need to talk about the size. Now the sizing of all other gates are done with respect to the reference inverter. Okay, so the sizing of transistors for all gates are done in comparison to the size of reference inverter. Okay, so a reference inverter, we have said 1 and 2. That's how we defined it. So 1 means whatever is the value that we have, W by L value that we have assigned for NMOS. So that is basically 1, and doubling the width we have got for PMOS. Now that will decide your charging and discharging time. Okay, so the resistance corresponding to a size of 1 will give you R resistance. Okay, and similarly if you connect two resistance in series, then its resistance is going to double. Okay. Okay, one more thing I have to add to this sentence is that so sizing of transistors for all gates are done in comparison to the size of reference inverter, considering the worst case scenario of charging and discharging. Considering the worst case scenario. What is the worst case scenario? For example, here I said there are 3 ways in which output can become 1, either 1A or B to be 0, or both of them are 0. So which is the worst case scenario? Worst case scenario is where it has maximum resistance in the charging path. If both are turned on, we have a better case. Okay, A and B both are 0 and both PMOS transistors are turned on, then the charging will be done through both paths. So high current can flow. That is not the worst case. The worst case is only when one of the transistor is turned on, and therefore you have a limited way in which current can flow. And what is the worst case for A and B? For NMOS, that is when there is only one case, and that itself is the worst case. So if there are multiple ways in which output can become 0, then you have to look at which combination will give rise to the worst case. But in this case, as far as the as far as the NMOS transistors are considered, for NAND 2, there is only one case in which output becomes 0, and that is when both transistors are turned on. NMOS transistors are to be turned on and they are in series, so therefore that itself is the worst case. But for PMOS, there are 3 cases in which output can go to high. Out of these 3 cases, 2 of them are the worst case. That is either A is 1 and B equal to 0, or when B is 1 and A is equal to 0. These are the worst cases. But the third case, that is when A 0, B 0, we have both turning on, so that is a better case. Okay, so if you consider the worst case, by taking the worst case, we want the charging time to be same as that of the reference inverter. So the worst case is only it is when one of the transistors is turned on. So in order to make the charging time to be same as that of the reference inverter, you have to give 2 here and 2 here. So that is how we size it. And what about the size of NMOS. There is only one case in which it is discharging, and we want the discharging resistance to be same as that of the reference inverter. So the reference inverter would have a resistance R corresponding to its size equal to 1, but here two resistance are coming. So if I take 1 then it will basically make 2 into R. Okay, so in order to make it R, so what I do is that I will make this also 2, this also 2. Okay, so the resistance for this is R by 2. So R by 2 plus R by 2 is equal to R. So that's what I am doing. So I am doubling the size. Wn is now doubled. Okay, I can go any multiple of the minimum size, from 1, 2, 3, etc. And then I can I can increase. Okay, I cannot decrease. I cannot go lesser than 1. So if I make 2, then when they are connected in series, R by 2 will become R. So this is basically corresponding to the inverter, reference inverter. So this is the resistance for discharging in the reference inverter. Okay, resistance for discharging in the reference inverter is R. So we should get the same discharging resistance in the worst case scenario. So okay, here the worst case scenario is there is only one case, and that itself is the worst case. Okay, let's quickly look at NOR 2. NOR 2 CMOS. Okay, so NOR 2 expression is Y is equal to A plus B bar. Okay, which is basically A bar into B bar, and Y bar is basically A plus B. Okay, so now we have expressed it in SOP form, and you can see that there is only one case in which discharging or charging should happen. The Y is equal to 1 only when A bar is equal to 1, or in other words A equal to 0, you can write. When A equal to 0 and B equal to 0. That means A bar equal to 1, B bar equal to 1, A bar into B bar equal to 1. So this is the only case in which Y should become 1. Whereas here Y is equal to 0. So we are taking Y bar, complement of that. Okay, we took Y bar, so that is there are various cases when either A equal to 1 or B equal to 1 or both equal to 1. Okay, there are three cases. So for making it 0, we use NMOS transistor. So for making it 1, we use PMOS transistor. So PMOS transistor, they should be connected in series. Okay, so that when A equal to 0 and B equal to 0, when both are 0, there is a path, and that will basically give you Y to become high. And then here there is multiple ways, 3 ways, and that is achieved by NMOS transistors. So B. Okay. Now, so once we understand, get the logic circuit by following this condition for output to become 0 and 1, by using NMOS and PMOS transistors appropriately connected, you get the circuit. And once you get the circuit, then you look for the worst case scenario. For PMOS, the worst case scenario is, there is only one case, that itself is the worst case. And so what should be the size of PMOS? So it should have the same resistance of the reference inverter PMOS.